the airport side. I also played on the quarry field, which is just 0.2 miles north of the airport site and about 0.4 miles from the Laddie site. The dust from these two sites blew over the quarry field. You could see it blowing. And, you know, you just didn't know what you were playing in. Earlier this year, I was diagnosed with hypothyroidism, and I don't know if it's where I lived and played at that was a factor, or where I work at now, which is down in the Riverport complex. I and my family also will know if growing up next to Coldwater Creek, or if working just 2.4 miles from the Westlake landfill, played a factor in my brother Doug's life. Imagine you are 41 years old and you learn on April 1st, 2007 at 1 a.m. that you don't have the worst case of the flu causing your headaches and pain and nausea, but to learn that you have a mass in your brain. Then what happened to Doug? That's what happened to Doug. Imagine having to leave your brother in the emergency room finally after being given something for the pain, to let him finally rest, and going home to get what sleep you can before morning arrives, to get up and go tell your parents the news. To learn after surgery the next day that Doug has a tumor the size of a baseball. That tumor was glioblastoma multiforme stage 4, and he was given 18 months to live. The knowledge of what Doug went through with the chemo and radiation, realizing that he had next to no odds of surviving, and that only 17 days after he turned 43, he lost his battle. When I learned of Coldwater Creek and then Westlake, I turned to what I am best at, which is research, and to learning all I could to help to inform others to do what they could, what could be done to get these contaminated sites cleaned up, so others would not have to wonder if they will be affected or their families will be affected by this contamination. Although I do not have children, I have a niece I love dearly, as well as her husband and their 2 children. I wonder daily what effect Coldwater Creek might have had on them, or what living 8 miles east of Westlake landfill will have on them in the future. This is why I volunteer my time on Coldwater Creek and Westlake landfill, and why others who volunteer their time to help moms, just moms like Megan and the others that Dawn spoke of, to help inform this community about meetings, to get informed, to find the facts and the truth, so we can teach you how you can read the documents and learn the truths yourself. And some of them documents are very long. Some are 800 pages worth of stuff you have to sift through to find the truths. The truths that there's 4,000 tons of herbicides, pesticides, asbestos, fly ash, and that's just the non-nuclear hazardous waste over there. That's on top of what's at Westlake, OU1, Area 1, and Area 2. Thank you.
Up here on the right, there's examples of what you can do to help. Up here on the left are goals that we have set for this community. Buyout, property assurance program, continuous health monitoring. In a little bit, Lois is going to talk to you about what all that means. Next, we're going to hear from Chuck and Kathy Bell. Bells live at ground zero of the landfill in Spanish Village and subdivision located just a half-mile from the landfill. They will share with you what they have experienced over the past few years and how their lives have been affected.
Thank you. I see a lot of neighbors here, so I'm not going to be telling you anything that you know already know. I grew up in Hazelwood. Is that better? I grew up in Hazelwood, close to Coldwater Creek. Seems to be a theme. Luckily, I did not play in the creek, but my older brother did. He has survived 6 cancer-related surgeries. In 2008, he underwent what he calls the big one, to remove a golf ball-sized tumor at the base of his tongue. He's one of the statistics in the Coldwater Creek Health Survey. Fast forward to 1996. My family moved to Spanish Village. We thought it would be a great place to raise our kids. It's a secluded, quiet neighborhood. We did not know that we were moving within a half mile of a landfill with radioactive waste. Living so close to this landfill, we have been exposed to horrible odors, along with a mixture of toxins that are carried in those odors. We can't keep our windows open because of this. A couple of months ago, I had a blonde senior moment and left a window partially open at night because it was nice and cool. I thought, we'll get some fresh air. Huh. Well, it was nice until about midnight when we woke up with the horrible landfill stench inside our house. That's how potent this stench can be. It woke us from a sound sleep. We're afraid of what our children have been exposed to growing up in Spanish Village, and we worry about the children who live there now. I feel guilty for ever moving my children to Spanish Village. This landfill has caused us headaches, sore throats, burning eyes, and bloody noses. We live in fear. When we go to bed at night, the landfill, or more specifically, what might happen at the landfill, is the last thing on our minds. Will there be another surface fire while we're sleeping? Will the fire reach the radioactive waste and become airborne? Has that already happened? Will there be a large release of benzene or other toxic chemical? Will we need to be evacuated or be told to shelter in place? Whenever I hear multiple sirens close by, my first thought is, did something happen at the landfill? This has taken a physical and emotional toll on us. We live so close to the landfill that if or when something happens there, whatever is released into the air will not have time to dissipate. We'll get a full-strength dose. We are asking for a buyout, not just because our quality of life has been taken away from us, not just because we live in fear. We want a buyout because we will not sell our house to another family and put them in this horrible situation.
But I just want to add, we live so close, and that's our major concern, and our concern has been with the children of this for so long. That's pretty much how we got involved. You know, our kids grew up in Spanish Village, and our kids aren't sure they even want to have children because this can be passed through generations. They have a fear of that. And also, I was very involved with my kids growing up, playing baseball, softball, coached a softball team of 11 and 12-year-old kids. And my daughter was on that team, as well as another little girl named Kirsty. And she was one of the bravest little girls I've ever known in my life. She played ball for me. And her mother grew up in Spanish Village, and they live in Maryland Heights. And unfortunately, this little 10 to 12-year-old teen, she had a massive brain tumor. And like I say, she was probably one of the littlest, bravest girls I've ever met in my life. She continued playing softball through that, and she would get up there and she would have such shakes that she couldn't control it because of the brain tumor. And I'd have parents say, Chuck, you've got to get up there. That little girl's scared to death. And I would have to explain to them, no, she's not. She has a brain tumor, and she loves to play ball. And a lot of little girls at that age don't want to play. But anytime one comes out, Kirsty was the first one up there and said, Coach, put me in. And she did a fantastic job. She would be shaking as that pitch was coming in, but she would firm up as soon as that pitch got there, and she would hit that ball, and she would drive it, and she would round those bases, and was one of my best players. Same thing when she was fielding. Just a great, awesome kid. Short story, you know, we got to keep it short. She lost her battle to that and died, you know, after our 12 year. We won 2 championships with her. So kind of fast forwarding to this year, we are getting ready. We've got a lot of stuff moved from our home, because we don't know if we'll have to move at a moment's notice or we'll get some warning. So we won the championship that last year. Kirsty played with us before she died, and one of the things I had was the team trophy. So trying to decide what will we do with that, I gave it to her mother, as she got a medal, Kirsty, and she took that team trophy, and it couldn't be in a better place. She was a fighter, and she still fights with us today, and that's what I want you all to remember is this isn't over. We need to fight for Kirsty and fight for all the kids like that, and our children who are in Spanish Village, the trailer park like that. They shouldn't be exposed to this, because you can't tell kids they can't go out and play and enjoy this, and it should not happen in this country. It's just pitiful. Thank you again.
So you've now heard of the fire and the threat the entire St. Louis region is under, if the two shall ever meet, if they haven't already. And you may be asking yourself, what can I do about it? How can I protect our children? How can we help? This next amazing woman is here to help us learn just that. While we live in this unfortunate situation, we have been absolutely blessed with someone who lived in a similar situation almost 40 years ago and prevailed. Lois Gibbs, Executive Director, Center for Health, Environment, and Justice, was not always an executive director. She was a mom, struggling to raise a family that included 2 children suffering from a variety of rare illnesses. She lived at Love Canal, a neighborhood full of toxic waste. She reached out to other residents, and through those neighbors they developed strategies to educate and organize their community, assess the impact of the toxic waste on their health, and change corporate and government disposal policies. We had the opportunity to meet with Lois when she was scheduled to appear the last time. Unfortunately, with the unrest in Ferguson, we had to postpone, as you all know. Lois is truly committed to helping this community, which is facing one of the most contaminated sites in the country. It is my pleasure to introduce to you Ms. Lois Gibbs.